What's going on, everybody? Austin Got Figs here, and I am bringing you this week's Raw recap. I'm going to go in depth on everything that happened, all the matches, most of the important segments, and pretty much give my overall thoughts on it. And you guys obviously leave me your thoughts on this show down below in the comments. If you do want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you get notified every time I upload a video. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, and let's get right into this recap. Okay, so to start it off, we did have Seth freaking Rollins come out with his, obviously, faction, which includes Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, and obviously Paul Heyman. And pretty much what Seth had to say was basically he's the cause of everything in WWE, practically. He's the reason why guys like CM Punk, Cody Rhoads, and OTC, and Roman Reigns are pretty much, he said that he's the reason why those guys are basically relevant. And obviously for Cody Rhoads, he backed up the fact that, well, if I wasn't there on the mat basically at that WrestleMania when Cody Rhoads had his second coming, Cody Rhoads wouldn't have been there without me. For Roman Reigns, you know, he wouldn't have been anything without me because I pretty much carried him at the beginning of his career basically. And then for CM Punk, well, he was brought back so the WWE could showcase my hatred for him. And so basically, that's pretty much what Seth Rollins had to say most of the time, that basically everything that we wanted, like I said, including Cody Rhoads, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns and all those guys, he's the reason why they're back, and he's the reason why they're relevant again. He's the reason why they were relevant basically in the first place, basically, is what Seth Rollins had to say here. He obviously referenced LA Knight because it was noted that LA Knight was out of action due to all the tsunamis that Bronson Reed had dealt to him, obviously, and Seth Rollins had said basically to every revolution there is the opposition. He said we already squashed one of the oppositions, obviously that being LA Knight, and then the next opposition that we have to squash is Penta, which we're actually going to get into that match after this part of the show. That is a match between Braun Breaker and Penta. So yeah, basically to sum it all up here, Seth basically said everything that we wanted, he's the reason why they're back and they're relevant, basically. And that, you know, that he's going to squash all the oppositions in his path, basically, you know. So that's pretty much mainly the summary that you need to take from this segment to just really get a good understanding of what Seth Rollins had to say here. But other than that, there's really nothing else to address here on this part of the show, but let's jump into the next part of this recap. Alright, in the next part of this Raw, we did have Braun Breaker versus Penta, and I really enjoyed this match, man. I think there was some great, just overall in-ring was so great, this match. I think Penta and Braun, they work really well in the ring together. It was just an amazing match in my opinion. I think it was definitely one of the better matches of tonight, 100%. I just like many great moves. I honestly was not expecting that great of a match, but I mean, I was pretty surprised. So I think that match was really good from an in-ring aspect. One thing I do want to know is when Penta he basically went off the middle rope and he was gonna hit Braun Breaker with a moonsault, but Braun Breaker with that inner dog in him, he hits that spear midair, and I thought that was pretty cool. Like that was one of the things that I was like, okay, I was not expecting that from this match tonight or something like that. So I think that was cool to see. Braun Breaker did end up picking up the win. I honestly figured Braun Breaker would definitely win. Obviously, this win solidifies what I had talked about, what Seth had talked about in the beginning of the show when Seth had mentioned basically we're the revolution, and obviously with every revolution comes oppositions, but we're going to take out those oppositions. So obviously Braun Breaker getting this win obviously solidifies the fact that they will continue to take out the oppositions. Tonight's opposition was obviously Penta. After the match, Seth had came up to Penta. He didn't attack him, but he had just said, "This is your only warning. Stay out of my way," basically. Penta obviously just shook his head and said no, basically, so it'll be interesting how Penta continues to play into this whole Seth Rollins thing, as, you know, being the role of the opposition for right now. But like I said, man, as far as this match goes, I thought this was a really good match. Again, Braun Breaker won, which I expected. But yeah, I think that really covers this part of the show. So yeah, let's jump into the next part. All right, now after that match, we did have a little backstage segment between Adam Pearce, AJ Styles, and then the New Day, and then Grayson Waller. So we'll start with, obviously, AJ Styles. So AJ Styles just talking about pretty much the Intercontinental title and the whole Dominic Mysterio thing. Apparently Dominic was injured. So that sucks, but that whole AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio match for the Intercontinental title is going to be postponed. But Adam Pearce did say when he's ready, AJ, you're first. You get first call on a match against Dominic Mysterio. Then the New Day, we were told that they will have to defend their tag titles at Night of Champions, and then obviously they got pissed off, and then Grayson Waller had told Pearce, you don't treat my mates like that, basically. So yeah, there was really no point for Grayson Waller to be there. But the two main things to note: the Intercontinental match postponed at Night of Champions, and then the New Day will defend at Night of Champions as well. So yeah, those are the really only two things I know here, but now let's jump into the next part of this show. Next up, we did have Michael Cole, and he obviously had spoken to Goldberg. Now, Goldberg obviously addressed what happened with Gunther at Bad Blood from last year. Obviously explained, yes, Gunther embarrassed me. He embarrassed me in front of my wife, my kids, my entire family, and my fans. And I was, obviously I was pissed off. And I knew I had to seek revenge. I had to retaliate against Gunther. I had to take some sort of action to make him pay for what he said to me. And so Goldberg pretty much said, well, I found the right time, and obviously the right time is July 12th at Saturday night's main event. Now, we already knew that match was going to happen, but, just that we're just informing, obviously, what Goldberg had to say. And Goldberg obviously said he's going to beat the F out of Gunther. He's going to make him pay, and he's not going to, he's going to beat some respect into Gunther because Goldberg had said, the lack of respect that Gunther showed me that night was honestly just unbelievable. So Goldberg pretty much basically stated that he will beat some respect into Gunther, basically. And then that really wrapped it up, man. So that's really all you need to know about what Goldberg had to say, and those are really the main things to take away from the whole segment that he had with Michael Cole. Obviously we have that match July 12th, Saturday night's main event, Goldberg and Gunther. I mean, there's really nothing else to talk about here. I mean, that's really all you got to know. So let's jump into the next part of this Raw. Alright, next up, we did have our weekly Judgment Day segment. We obviously, at the beginning of the segment, we just had everybody saying, we miss Liv, basically. And then Finn had told pretty much everybody, what would Liv want us to do? Liv would want us to basically get up and take action, pretty much fight, earn what's ours, basically. So Finn had told Roxanne, you win your match tonight against Jade Cargill in the semifinals to advance to the finals of the Queen of the Ring. And then obviously Raquel had stated, well, what do I, Nick and Pierce, they haven't decided what to do with these tag titles yet. And then Finn had basically pretty much said, don't worry about that right now. And then, Raquel got a little bit heated, basically. And then Finn had told Raquel, that's exactly what we need. We need that energy, and we need that motive that you have right here. And we need you to be the enforcer, and don't let people like Rhea Ripley walk all over you, and go take action. So that's pretty much what what Raquel had to do with that whole segment. Finn had told Dom, Roxanne's got a match tonight, and then he kind of gave him like the little, with a little wink and all that, little side eye. And then Dominic had just said, good luck, or she had told Roxanne just good luck tonight. And I mean, that was really it. Oh, and also I want to clarify something that I talked about in the whole Adam Pearce and New Day segment. I said the match was at Night of Champions. I'm wrong. It was actually on Monday. It was next Monday. So Monday Night Raw next week. So the Judgment Day will face the New Day for the World Tag Titles next Monday, not at Night of Champions. I just had to clarify that. Now, as far as the whole Judgment Day segment goes, that was all you really needed to know there. Nothing else to really know. That's pretty much the main points to take away from here. But yeah, let's jump into the next part of the show, shall we? Alright, and then after that, we did have Jade Cargill versus Roxanne Perez in the Women's Queen of the Ring semifinals. And I just want to say, I think both women were excellent in this match. It's just, I want to just say first, I wasn't too hyped for this match because I kind of figured Jade was going to win. I was really in my head just set on the fact that Jade was going to win, and obviously she did end up winning. But for as far as the in-ring, I do think it was fairly good. Nothing too crazy, but I do want to just throw that out there that it was pretty good, between those two women. It would have been cool to see Roxanne win, but I just knew Jade would have won that. Just because they're probably going to do stuff with Roxanne in the women's tag division. That's probably what's most likely going to happen next with Roxanne. So yeah, in-ring of that match was pretty good. Again, Jade Cargill did win. After the match, we did have a little bit of a stare off or a stare down between Jade Cargill and Asuka because obviously those two women made it to the finals and they will face off at Night of Champions to figure out who is the Women's Queen of the Ring of 2025. So yeah, I mean, those are really the main takeaways there. Jade won. She goes to the finals to face Asuka. As far as Roxanne, they'll probably do stuff with her in the women's tag division, obviously. That's really the only thing that I see there, that I see the WWE doing with her. And then that's really it for here. I mean, nothing else to really say. Those are really the main takeaways from this part of the show and just that overall match. But yeah, let's move on to the next part of the show. Alright, and then this is more of a follow-up, sort of, from the Goldberg situation that we had talked about previously. So Gunther had came out and pretty much gave his thoughts on the whole Goldberg situation. He said that basically it's not the Goldberg era anymore. Yes, he admitted, yes, Goldberg is the most destructive man from his time, from his generation. But it's not his generation anymore. Things are more revolutionized, and I am pretty much I'm the top of the line guy. I'm the guy that can take Goldberg down. I'm the guy that can dethrone the most destructive man of a generation, basically. He pretty much said that he is going to, much like Goldberg had said about Gunther, Gunther said that basically he's going to beat pretty much the F out of him, basically. I mean, really, just to sum it up, I mean, throughout this entire promo that Gunther had to cut on this whole situation, he was you could see he was he was agitated and he was built up with lots of tension and he just wanted to go like right then and there. So yeah, I mean, Gunther was fired up and he just let all his thoughts out and just said that I'm going to beat the hell out of Goldberg as well. I'm going to make sure the myth and just the overall conception of Goldberg dies and it does not continue from this moment forward, basically. I'm going to destroy Goldberg and there will be no remains of it. Pretty much no remains, Goldberg will basically be outlawed from history, pretty much. So that was pretty much mainly what Gunther had to say there. Pretty ruthless promo. I think it was a very good promo as well. But yeah, that's really all. That sums that whole thing up with Gunther and Goldberg there. But yeah, let's move on to the next part of the show. Alright, next up, I do want to talk about Sami Zayn and Karrion Kross backstage. So as we've been seeing these past couple weeks, probably even a month now, even probably longer maybe, I don't even know at this point, Karrion Kross has been coming around Sami, pretty much trying to get in his head, telling Sami that you're never going to be a world champion, you're never going to be anything, and you might as well just listen to me, basically. Finally, today, Sami snapped, and he socked Karrion Kross right in the jaw, and Sami had told him, basically, I've already talked to Adam Pearce. We're on. We're going to go to war. We're going to go to battle, and pretty much just tick-tock, basically. We are going to battle. I'm going to settle you once and for all. When Sami had walked away, though, I do want to mention Scarlett, who is obviously Karrion Kross, pretty much sidekick, if you will. she had said, "Oh, stop it," because Karrion Kross was sitting there grabbing his jaw and all that, and then Karrion Kross was just like, "We got him. We finally got him." So I wonder what the "got him" means. I mean, I kind of have an idea, but I don't want to really throw it out there too just yet. But yeah, so just the main thing to note here, we will probably have a Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross potentially next week on Raw. So it'll be interesting to see that match, honestly. I honestly cannot wait for that. It'll be interesting to see how that match plays out, and where that whole storyline goes from there, honestly. But yeah, that's the really main thing to note here. Let's jump into the next part of the show. Alright, now moving on, we did have Becky Lynch versus Bayley for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Now, I do have to be honest, I really didn't think the overall match was that great, but I do think, obviously, the ending was cool to see. And we're going to get into that, obviously. So, obviously, let's just say it, not Bayley. Becky Lynch did end up winning, but it was by disqualification. So, in this match, Becky had Bayley on the outside, and she was pretty much piling chairs on top of Bayley, and she was trying to pretty much get Bayley out for the count, just trying to get Bayley buried so she can't get up, and then so Becky can win by a count out and just take the easy way out. Now, when Becky went back into the ring after covering up Bayley, Lyra Valkyria came out and started uncovering Bayley to help her out, because obviously they're trying to build some sort of alliance, or trying to, against Becky Lynch, to try to take Becky Lynch from having the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So yeah, Lyra Valkyria came out to help Bayley. Becky Lynch got all pissed off, but Lyra Valkyria knew she couldn't hit Becky because, well, that would disqualify her, and then the match would end, and Bayley wouldn't even be champion. It would end in a disqualification. Oh my. So eventually, however, Becky did hit Lyra Valkyria with just a little slide kick, and then Becky and Bayley were back in the ring, but then in came Lyra, and then she started attacking Becky, and that's when she snapped, and then the bell obviously rang, and that was the disqualification. Becky got out of the ring with her title, that was the end of her, but then we had a little, kind of just misunderstanding little segment between Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Bayley was, kind of pissed off. Why, I was trying to work together here, but you didn't have to do that, because, obviously I was trying to take this title off her, now you ruined that for me. So those are really the main highlights here. So Becky won by disqualification, and the supposed alliance that that Bayley and Lyra Valkyria are trying to build, obviously, tonight was kind of little, that realizing that that's not going to work, and then eventually we're probably just going to end up in a triple threat for the Women's Intercontinental Championship between these three women. It'd be interesting to see that at Night of Champions, but I just don't think that's going to happen. It'll probably happen after Night of Champions for sure. More than likely at Saturday Night's main event, probably. But yeah, that's really the main takeaways here, man. Nothing else to really note there. But yeah, let's jump into the next part of the show. Alright, next up, we did have Raquel Rodriguez come out, obviously furious at Rhea Ripley for pretty much costing her the chance to get to the semifinals and the Queen of the Ring. So Raquel had called out Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley came out, and then they brawled. Then at one point, Raquel got a table, put it up in the ring. Yes. Raquel got the table, put it in the ring, and then Rhea Ripley got back up, took the upper hand on Raquel, and then as Rhea Ripley was going to hit a riptide to Raquel through the table, out came Roxanne Perez to help out Raquel, and it ended up working, because then Raquel Rodriguez was able to capitalize on Rhea Ripley and hit her with the Tejana Bomb, and then as Roxanne was down, Raquel had came up and gave out her hand to Roxanne. So eventually, we most definitely are going to probably see Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. They're going to be the women's tag champs now, and then eventually I feel like Rhea Ripley is probably going to get a tag partner at some point, and then Rhea Ripley and whoever her tag team partner is are going to go up for those women's tag titles most likely. But that's just what I think. I mean, probably not. It could not happen, but I just think that's the most likely choice of what's going to happen from here on. But yeah, that's the really main things to note here. Let's jump into the next part of the show. All right, Ben, and what a main event that this Raw held for us, dude. This main event was awesome, man. Jey Uso versus Cody Rhoads in the semifinals, man. I knew none of these men were gonna go down easy, but man, this match was awesome, dude. I really enjoyed this match. I knew it was gonna be a good match because Jey and Cody, they've tagged before. I mean, they were tag champions at one point, so they knew each other. So because of that, I just knew. Since they knew each other, they knew how each other, wrestles and works. I knew these people, these men were they were going to put on a banger, and that's exactly what we had here tonight, man. Obviously, Cody Rhoads did end up conquering Jey Uso, and I know the big question is going to be, what's next for Jey Uso? And, I don't even know yet. As soon as I know, and as soon as I make up a concept of where Jey Uso goes from here, I will 100% get a video out on that because I know that's going to be a huge question. Just in the wrestling community for probably the next few weeks. But as soon as I know, I do want to get a video out about that. But back to this Raw, man. Just this main event was awesome, dude. Man, it was just so cool. I mean, there was so many times where I thought Jey was going to win. Then I thought Cody was going to win at one point. Which, obviously, Cody did win. But there was times before the actual match ended that I thought he was going to win. But no, the match kept going, man. This match was just awesome. All right, I don't want to keep repeating myself and then just drag this clip out for 10 years, But, man, great match. Great overall everything, man. Again, Cody advanced. He faces Randy in the semifinals of the King of the Ring at Night of Champions. If you do want to go see my actual predictions for King and Queen of the Ring, like winners, that video is up on my channel. But as far as this entire Raw goes, man, I think this Raw was fairly good, man. No major complaints from me. I did enjoy this episode of Raw. Obviously, though, you guys leave me your thoughts on this Raw down below. Let me know if there's anything that you think could have been better, or maybe you think there was something that was left out of the show that should have been on the show. You guys let me know all that down below. If you want to see more videos like this, though, be sure to like and subscribe, and even turn on post notifications so you get notified every time I upload a video. But man, if you guys enjoyed this video, again, be sure to drop a like. Hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.